The M4 Sherman was a 30-ton beast designed to crush anything in its path. But in June 1944, the entire U.S. Army was defeated by a bush. It sounds like a joke, but for the soldiers in Normandy, it was a nightmare. They called it the Bocage. Thousands of miles of ancient, impenetrable hedgerows. These weren't garden hedges. They were earthen walls, 3 feet thick, tangled with roots that had grown for centuries. Every time a Sherman tank tried to climb over them, it had to point its nose to the sky. For 5 seconds, the tank was blind. Its guns pointed at the clouds. But worse, it exposed its underbelly. The bottom armor of a Sherman is thin, paper thin. German anti-tank crews were just sitting on the other side, waiting. One shot to the belly, game over. By July, the Allies were stuck. The invasion had stalled. General Omar Bradley was desperate. He had thousands of tanks, but they were trapped in these fields like sitting ducks. Washington sent engineers. They proposed complex hydraulic bulldozers, but those machines would take 3 months to build and ship. General Bradley didn't have 3 months. He didn't even have 3 weeks. The solution wasn't going to come from the Pentagon, and it wasn't going to come from a scientist. It was going to come from a 29-year-old sergeant from New Jersey. Meet Sergeant Curtis Culin of the 102nd Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron. He was tired of watching his friends die. One night, during a brainstorming session, a fellow soldier jokingly said, "We should just put teeth on the tanks and bite through the hedges." The other guys laughed. Culin didn't. He realized that if they could cut the roots at the base, the tank wouldn't have to climb. It could stay flat. It could stay ready to fight. But they had no steel. Supplies were low, so Culin looked at the beaches. The Germans had littered the Normandy coast with steel obstacles called Czech hedgehogs to stop the invasion boats. Rommel's asparagus. Culin dragged this enemy scrap metal back to the workshop. He fired up his welder. He cut the German steel into jagged 4-foot prongs. He welded them to the front toe plate of a Sherman. It looked crude. It looked ugly. They called it the Rhino. But the question remained, would it work? They brought General Bradley to a field for a demonstration. Culin revved the engine. He dropped the clutch. The Rhino didn't climb the hedge. It didn't expose its belly. The tank stayed level. The gun stayed on target. The hedge exploded into sawdust. Bradley was stunned. He immediately ordered the breakdown of every German obstacle on the beach. For the next 48 hours, welding crews worked day and night. They turned trash into weapons. By the time the attack launched, 500 tanks had been modified. July 25th, Operation Cobra. The Germans were waiting in the hedgerows, confident that the Americans were trapped. Then they heard the roar. Suddenly, hundreds of tanks burst through the walls they were supposed to be hiding behind. The German defense collapsed. They had no tactic for this. The stalemate was broken. The Allies poured into France. Slow pan of a peaceful Normandy field today. Sergeant Culin was awarded the Legion of Merit. Sadly, he would lose a leg later in the war, but his invention saved thousands of American lives. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest problems in history aren't solved by complex technology or billion-dollar budgets. Sometimes all you need is a welder, a little bit of ingenuity,